I'm back, I'm biased, I'm bothered, and I am always unfiltered. If you are easily offended, this is not the place for you. But you still haven't managed to worthy up? Not to worry, let's get into this mess. Today we are going to go deep. We are going deep inside the mind of Kody Brown, where he is going to confess everything. He is going to tell us all of his deep, dark thoughts. Hopefully. Anyway, so are the rest of the family, because this is Brown Family Confessions. Now, all the older kids are there with the parents, so this is the setup. We're getting questions from the public. Some of them are on video, some of them are written, and some, like the family, are just reading now. So the first question comes from a guy called Ernesto. Now, when Ernesto wants to know, like, are the kids dating? I thought, what the hell, Ernesto? Like, that's such an inappropriate question to ask, because these are all teenagers. Do you know what else is inappropriate? Well, a couple of things. Who told these kids, like, to sit on the floor? This is never going to be a good look, never. Also, I'm very fucking bothered by this sitting arrangement between Father Logan and Robyn. I thought, Robyn, get your arse up, sit on the floor and let one of his sisters sit beside him. I don't like this, I don't. Anyway, Robyn is then saying to Logan, like, about the dating, like, is he dating anyone? Is he getting serious? And, like, are you being careful? I don't like any of this. I don't. That's none of your fucking business, Robyn. Like, this is Logan. He's a very smart lad, okay? And he's one of Janelle's boys. Janelle has told her kids everything, right? They know not to be stupid. But just when I thought this couldn't get worse, right? It does, because of Kody. And Kody is saying that, like, because they're kids, like, and they're living under his roof, he wants to know if they're dating. And I thought, that's grand, but he doesn't leave it there, right? Because he also says he wants to know everything that they're doing. He wants to know, like, if they're kissing. And I thought, no, you don't. You think one of these kids is just going to come in to you and say, I had me tongue down someone's throat last night, or do you know what I was doing? I was wanking off some fella, or I got fingered. None of these kids are going to tell you that, nor should they, by the way. Lads, that's why you have siblings, okay? Or that's why you have friends. And if you have none of those things, get yourself a diary. Well, if you do get a diary, okay, make sure you hide it in a better place than Ginger Duggar hid her diary. Do you remember? I felt very bad for her when her diary got stolen. I really did. Now, I didn't feel bad enough to not read it. I loved it. I loved Free Ginger. I loved that. I was always on it. It was a great bit of crack. I like her, by the way. I do. When I was watching that family initially, I loved watching them, right? But when I was watching them, like, initially, okay, I thought to myself, these people are off their goddamn nut, right? When I seen those kids running a marathon in, like, a pair of jeans, I thought, yeah, there's definitely something wrong with these. Definitely. Oh, but Ginger is lovely. She is. I think she's a nice person. Anyway, right, back to the Browns, another mad family, right? Leon is saying that the last time they were alone with a boy, like, it was by accident. I do have to say, right, sometimes Leon really irritates me because they're so, like, holier than thou, right? They go on, like, back then they went on, like, as if they're, like, so much better than everybody else. That always bothers me about a person. Anyway, our next question comes from Shauna or Shayna. They can't quite make up their mind, like, what her name is, so she's being called both. So this question is, right, now it's written, and they want to know, what's the difference between living in Utah to Las Vegas? So basically, we're finding out that Las Vegas is just a lot more easygoing than Utah was. So our next question comes from Ashley, and this is a written question. Now, Ashley wants to know, what makes the family butt heads, like, most of the times? Now, Maddie is saying lots of things, or for some unknown reason, right? Kody is really trying to pin Maddie down, and he's saying, like, what? What? Like, give me an example. And she says, right then, church. So we're finding out, okay, that when Kody is doing mass, he's either crying or he's cranky. I thought, what? Who the fuck is crying, like, giving mass? Like, fair enough, like, if you're at a funeral or something, that'd be me, right? I'm a blubbering mess, okay? I am. Especially if there's music, right? Then I'm gonna cry. But imagine yourself, you're just going to mass on a Sunday with your family, and, like, suddenly the priest just starts crying. Like, what the hell are you supposed to do? Well, obviously, I'm saying, lads, I'm out of here. I'm on my way home. Anyway, Logan is saying, like, that the teens and the parents, they butt heads basically because they want to do things differently. I think that that's very normal. So our next question is a video, and this comes from Barbara. Now, Barbara wants to know, right, How would Kody feel about any of his daughters having sister wives? Now, Kody reckons, right, if it's the right person with the right sister wives, it'd be grand. But he has very high expectations for the son-in-law. And I thought, do you really though, Kody? Like, really? Are you including Tony in that, you know? Anyway, Cody says, right now, Cody says that the biggest decision you'll ever make in your life is marriage. This is going to be controversial. I know it is. But anyway, I disagree. I do. Because, like, God forbid, if you do get married to somebody, okay, and it doesn't work out for whatever reason, you can always get divorced, right? You can always do that. Like, it'd be terrible, but you can actually do that. But you know, if you have a baby, right? And you can't just go back to the gynecologist and say, oh, Jesus, you know what? I have a job. I have a mortgage. I have a life. Put that thing back in. Give me a couple of years. You can't do that. So, in my mind, I think that would be the biggest decision that a person would ever make. And I know that's controversial, controversial even, but it is what it is. Anyway, our next question comes from Dana, and it's a video. So Dana wants to know, has there been more changes to the family dynamics, like since the move? I will say, right, I'm very fucking distracted by Robyn, with Logan. I don't like any of this. I just don't like it. But Aspen, she's saying that the big changes is she never really sees her dad anymore. So the OG family are saying that they really do miss their old life, like the old house and everything. And we're getting a throwback video of the OG family. I thought, Kody, you are such a fool. You really are. You had a beautiful family. And then Robyn says, right, that she definitely sees a difference. I thought, how? You never lived with these people, Robyn. You never fucking lived with them. But then we get this very peculiar speech from McKelty. So it's from McKelty, but it's to Robyn. And McKelty is saying to Robyn, right, how much she loves Brianna. And that Brianna is a true sister. And it's a spiritual feeling. And now these two are crying. I thought you can back all the way off with that crap, right? Is this part of the reason that people don't really like her? And I was wondering, right, was Kody just sick and tired of all of this crap and said I lower my expectations for Tony and now get rid of this one. They'll be grand, they'll work it out. Ah, anyway, we're on to our next question, and it's from Deborah, and this question is written. So Deborah wants to know, do the brothers look after the sisters? Of course they do. Of course they look after the sisters. And Logan, as we know, Logan looks after everybody. Now we're getting a gorgeous throwback picture of Maddie and Logan. Oh, my heart burst, okay? Because Maddie is saying that she was scared one time of tornadoes, right, when she was a very small kid, and she was telling Logan that she was very terrified of this tornado. And Logan said to her, I will protect you from everything. Oh my God, my heart. This has to be the most wholesome person in the whole world. He's just such a beautiful human being. He really is. Anyway, Kody is saying that Logan is the perfect oldest child. I thought, Kody, he is the perfect parent. He is. Let's put some respect onto this chap, right? Onto Father Logan. He is the perfect parent. That's exactly what he is. Now we got an interesting question from Catty and Stephanie, okay? This is very it's a crap question, no, I will say that, but it's very telling. They want to know what's the favorite food for the kids. Now we find out, okay, that the favorite food for the kids is something that Christine makes. I have all the thoughts on this, right? It's called mock tapioca pudding. First of all, why can't we not just have regular tapioca? Why are we mocking shit? Just get the regular stuff. Anyway, Christine makes this, and apparently it takes an hour and a half to make. So when she's making it, she makes loads of it. Now, all the family love this stuff, okay? We're seeing the family eating it. But on the sofa, they're telling us how much they love this. And Logan, he's getting so expressive, talking about this mock shit, whatever the hell it is, right? But he's saying he loves it so much, and when Christine does make it, he's always eating it, okay? And everybody is saying it's gorgeous. But look at Robyn's face, right? Robyn has a face like a smack dart. She cannot even stand this woman to get a compliment about her cooking, about the mock stuff that she makes. She's not even making the real thing. She's just making a mock version of it. And Robyn is even jealous of that. But I did think that the facial expression of her was very interesting. She should try smile once in a while. Get rid of those jowls. Anyway, now we're on to our next question. Now, this question is from Alice, and it's a video. So she wants to know, has there been much temptation since moving? Because there's loads of hookers, gambling, alcohol, drugs, all the things. So the kids are saying that there's basically alcohol and drugs everywhere. but it was like put into their face more like when they're in Lehigh. And Kody is saying like, oh, so there's more of a distinction in Vegas between good kids and bad kids. And Logan is saying like you can be a bit of both, right? Kody is not happy about that. I completely and utterly agree with Logan, because you can in fact like have a bit of crack in life, like would also just be like a normal person. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be all or nothing. There's always somewhere in the middle. Now our next question is a video question, and it comes from Evelyn. Oh, Evelyn is going to be in trouble, because she wants to know, what does Kody take like to satisfy the wives in the bedroom, and she wants some for her husband, right? I thought justice for Evelyn's husband. Now, of course, right, these kids are shocked, but they're also gross. Now, nobody wants to hear about their parents banging, right? Nobody wants to hear any of that. So they're leaving. But as they're leaving the room, right, I noticed the sign above the door in Janelle's house, and the sign says families are forever. And I thought, no, 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 not anymore, they're not. Anyway, Kody says, right, that he's not willing to answer the question. And Mary says that it's not even something they talk about between themselves. So I thought, well, then that means he's definitely taken something. Like, of course he has to be. Can you imagine, right? This guy, like, he's a middle-aged man, and he has to bang like 4 different people. Like, he will be red raw. I hope he has Diddy level of lube or something going on. Because, oh my God, you'd be wrecked, right? You would. Can you imagine, right? You're with one woman one night, and like you have to bang, but you haven't seen the next one. So the next night when you're with her, you can't even say like, "Get on me, I'm tired," because she hasn't seen you. Do you know what I mean? And that's just gonna happen like repeatedly. Oh, I could never. I couldn't. Apparently, Nina can eat. That's why he has to take the Viagra. Oh, anyway, our next question is from Karen, okay, and it's a video question. Now, she wants to know, right? What wife is the shopping wife, the mother wife, the sex wife, the cleaning the toilet wife, right? Now, Christine says that like that they're all of those things. You're not, Christine. You're not, because you get to shop in the second-hand shop, while Robyn gets to shop in David Yurman. By the way, right? By the way, if you ever get an expensive piece of jewelry, right? Buy a recognizable named jewelry. Literally, all right. Do not spend money on something that won't hold its value. Who the hell has heard of like David Yurman? I guarantee you nobody has, okay? But if you say Gucci, Tiffany, Chanel, if you say anything like that, okay, you will recognize the name. So that's something that's gonna hold its value, right? To be honest with you, if somebody says to me, I got you a lovely present, I got you a ring, right? And I open the box and I see that ugly as fuck horsey ring, okay? Number one in my mind, right? I am already calculating what's the weight of this thing? Like, how much am I going to be able to scrap it for? Because there's no way I'm wearing it. Like, there's literally no way. But like, when I'm opening this and I see the box David Yurman, I'm thinking, I don't even know this name. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to have no resale value. Do not put your money into this, Shay. Like, if you're, especially like if you're spending big money, okay? Always go for a recognizable name, so you can at least, like, it will at least hold its value. Don't be wasting your money on this kind of shit. Anyway, back to the question, right? So Robyn is saying like that when Christine was having Truly, that she cleaned her bathroom. I thought that's grand. That's grand. Now I'm not going to give her any credit for that, and I'm going to tell you why, right? Because when Christine's cervix, okay, was dilating and she was pushing a fucking human being out of her vagina, Robyn had her tongue down the throat of Christine's husband. So no, she doesn't get a brownie pint for that. But you know what I will do, right? If she goes over to clean Janelle's toilet, okay, because Janelle has a load of teenage boys. If she goes over and cleans Janelle's toilet, that's when I'll give her a few brownie bites. But I do have to say, as this conversation was going on, I'm very distracted by the marks on the wall behind the sofa. What the hell happened? These are all rental houses. Like, fix that shit. That would drive me absolutely and utterly insane. I can't stand stuff like that. But I did cheer up a little bit, okay? Because I got to see a real close up of Janelle's boot lamp. I love it. It's so Janelle. I absolutely love it. Now, our next question comes from Azar, okay? And it's a written question. So, Azar wants to know, how many wives can a man have in polygamy? Now, Kody says, right, that after four, like, it's kind of crazy, right? And then he starts talking about Brigham Young. Now, I'll just give you a bit of a lowdown. Brigham Young is kind of like it's kind of like their equivalent to the Pope, like their holy person, right? Kind of like Yeah, kind of like that. We'll just say like that. Anyway, Kody reckons that Brigham Young had 27 wives. No, he didn't. No, 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 he didn't. Even I know that one, okay? Even I know that one. Brigham Young had over 50 feckin' wives, right? Now, this is supposed to be Cody's holy person. This is supposed to be like they're an important person, okay? And Kody doesn't even know that. So that made me feel so good about myself. I was delighted I knew something more than Kody. Just cheered me up, you know. Anyway, he reckons that four is enough, okay? Now, Kody says that he wants to nurture the relationships with each wife, but you're not, Kody. You're not. You're too busy, like over in Robyn's nest, carrying Aurora up the stairs. I love that scene, I really do. Sometimes I just watch it, okay? It just, oh God, it just gives me all the warm and fuzzies, alright? Because she's so much bigger than him. And like he's struggling. He's obviously struggling. She's heavy. Like she's a grown woman. So like he's struggling to carry her up the stairs. Oh God. It makes me smile every time I see it. Imagine, right? Imagine you in your life, okay? And you're just having a shit day. You think to yourself, do you know what? There's no footage of me ever being carried up the goddamn stairs by my daddy, my stepdaddy, all right? Just as a grown woman. Like there's no footage of that of me like anywhere on this earth. So that will at least cheer you up a bit. By the way, so the fact that you're not called Aquaman, smile at that fact, okay? Because life could be a hell of a lot worse. Anyway, we're getting a story right about this question. So we're finding out that when Mary and Kody got married, they had known Janelle and they had known like Christine prior, but they were like dating somebody for a very long time. And Mary was getting very close to this person, but they decided like not to marry the person. I thought, hang on a sec, I know what's after going on here. So Mary fell in love with this person, right? Like I think this is probably the underage girl. So Mary fell in love, right? I know that she did. But Cody's like, nah, nah, I can't have any of that queer stuff, you know? Can't have any of that. Probably getting a bit close to the bone there. So he got two people that they already knew, all right? Because there's no way Mary was ever going to be interested in Janelle. Like, she's not going to want to bang somebody that her brother was banging, like, just recently. Do you know what I mean? So Cody is thinking, yeah, I get Janelle. Mary's definitely not interested in her. So he's thinking, yeah, I'll get Christine, right? She's a heifer that eats the nachos. Like she grosses me out. She's gonna gross Mary out too. So I'm gonna get these, right? But basically he's saying, right, that he doesn't want any more wives, like that the family is complete. And I do. I want more wives. I want a wife in particular, okay? But that's another conversation for another day. Anyway, we're on to our next question. So this is a question from Danny, and this is by video, right? So he wants to know, is there ever a time when somebody basically isn't mad at Kody? Now Kody is saying that he needs harmony, all right? Like in his life, he needs harmony. Now Christine is saying, I think she's only having a bit of crack, right? And she's saying that she's mad at Kody right now. And then Robyn, right? Robyn says that she's seen her mother putting aside her pettiness, all right, because the mother like didn't have time to fight. So she's basically like she's having to go with Christine here, you know. Also, this is brutal relationship advice. Express yourself, people. Don't be putting on a happy face for anybody. If you're not feeling happy, say I'm not feeling happy. If you're gonna have an argument, have an argument. That's life, right? And did you know the great part about having an argument? You clear all that shit and then you have a great bit of crack making up, you know? That's what life is. It's not all about being fucking happy all the time. I can't stand people like that. Well, I can't stand her, right? But Robyn is saying like that's what her mother did and that Robyn does the very same thing as our mother. We know that your mother was a home wrecker too, you know? Anyway, our next question is written. Now, this question is from Lisa. So, Lisa wants to know how are the family going to pay for the kids' college? Because basically, when we see you on the telly, you're always broke, right? Now, Cody says, right, it's the same as every other family in the United States. I thought, no, it's not. No, the hell it's not. Because this man, right, this family have four rental houses and they're getting a mortgage on another four houses. Tell me one other person in the United States or anywhere in the world, right, who's paying out for eight goddamn houses. Literally nobody is doing that because it's so dumb. It's so, nobody is wasting that kind of money, you know. But of course, right, Robyn has to put in, and Robyn says, not all the kids will go to college. I thought, excuse me, who are you? That's not what we say in this family. We've never said that in this family, okay? ever since we met the Browns, right, we have been told the kids are going to college, the kids are going to college. Now, maybe they're not. I don't care about any of that, okay? Because that's not what we say as a family. So, as a family, we say the same fucking thing. Get on board, Robyn. I wasn't happy about that. But I was happy because Kody and Janelle, like, they're giving pushback and they're saying no, they want all the kids, like, to go to college or to go to a trade school. They want these kids to get some kind of an education. I love that, all right? And by the way, there's nothing wrong with a trade school. I tell you, right, I have never in my life come across an unemployed electrician, a plumber, or a carpenter. Like these people, and they're so busy, right? They're so hard to get. They make great money, right? I think people get into their heads, right? You know, that if they have a young person in their life, they have a little brother, a nephew, whatever, a niece, anybody, a young person in your life, right? People think, ah, college has to be academic. No, it doesn't. Not everybody is academic, okay? That's what makes us great. We're all different, right? So if you have somebody in your life, a young person who's considering college, and probably all freaked out about like going to, you know, studying and doing something academic, get them into a trade. Like find out something that they're interested in and really encourage that, you know. I'm always telling people that. I always tell people that. I don't know why. I don't know why people look down their nose on this shit. You're gonna need an electrician sometime in your life. Do you know what I mean? And I'm telling you, they're very hard to get. They're always busy. They make a fucking fortune. Anyway, our next question comes from Rita, and this is a video. Now, Rita wants to know, right? Because there's more than one mother. Like, is there one like that pulled drink? And I thought, Mary. Now, Kody is saying like that he does the course correction. I thought, no, you don't. I have literally seen Gabriel busting Garrison's nose. I have seen him like pulling Savannah out of bed. I've seen all this, you know. And you know who deals with it? Janelle does. And if Janelle is not there, well then Logan is there, like the actual father. Kody, you do absolutely and utterly nothing, you know. Anyway, our next question. Oh, this is a little bit sad. It is. I changed the last and the second last question around. Anyway, we hear from Chandra from a video. Now, Chandra wants to know what had happened if one of the sister wives passed away. Like, would the other wives like take on the kids? Oh, and then we get this super sad story about Mary's sister, okay? So Mary's sister had four children. Now the youngest kid was only 2 years old, so like a literal baby. But before the mother like passed away, she wanted to know basically that her children would be taken care of. So she wanted to find out if the other wife would take the children like to her house and raise them. Now the other wife, right, said no, she'd go to the children's house because she didn't want them to be like uprooted all over again. You know, she didn't want to disrupt these children's lives even more. I love that, by the way. I love that she did that. But as Mary is telling us this, she's heartbroken, okay? No wonder. Like, the woman is fucking heartbroken. Like, these children lost their mother. And, like, one of them was, like, barely a baby, you know? But this is so amazing to me because she's sitting beside Robyn. She's in feckin' floods of tears, right? Her heart is breaking over, like, the terrible loss of her sister. And Robyn is literally, she's just like an empty sack. Like, she's nothing, like, sitting beside her. Just nothing to this woman, okay? She can't even put like her arm around her. She's not even looking at Mary, okay? The woman has not got a bit of fucking empathy. She hasn't even got a bit of sympathy, you know? She's nothing. But the question is, like, right, what would happen if one of the sister wives like did pass away? Now they're saying, right, that Mary would like she'd want like the sister wives to look after Leon. I believe that to be true, right? I do, and I believe that they would do it. Now, this is what I believe, right? Christine would definitely take Janelle's kids, definitely. Now, Janelle, Janelle would take. I think Janelle would take care of the finances, right? She'd probably have paid and Gwen like a lot of the time. I reckon Isabel would go to Mary like a lot of the time. But like the OG parents, they would like stay together, right? They would. I know that they would. None of these kids are going over to Robyn. None of these are what, to starve to get your cereal taken off you because it's too much. It's considered a meal. None of those kids are going there. But anyway, that's too sad. So our next question, okay, is from these three girls. It's a video question. Now it's from Waverly, Winter, and Olivia. I've never heard the name Waverly before. So this girl wants to know, right, like all about Cody's hair products, right? Now the waves are already laughing, and we find out that Kody uses a cleanser. He uses scalp therapy and he uses a follicle booster. And I thought it's not doing you any favors though. It's not doing you any favors at all. But then he says, right, that he will either towel dry or blow dry it. That's the problem, Kody. But keep on doing it. Keep on doing it because I love it. I love when their hair, like, I love when I get a good view of it being like super stringy. I love that, okay? Especially when it's longer and there's just like a few strands like on either side of the face. I love that. I love that look. Anyway, even Robyn is saying like that's quite a process, like just to watch him doing his hair. Now, bear in mind, right, he hasn't even got the curls yet, you know? So this is just a straight hair look. Anyway, I don't know what this was. I think it was just kind of a filler episode, but I thought we'd do it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, go ahead and hit subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Have a great day.